Hello, I'm Barry Hutchison, also known as JD Kirk. I am the author of over 200 books, including the Amazon #1 best-selling DCI Jack Logan series, which has sold over 3 million copies. I also write for comics, including the Beano. If you're in the UK, you'll know what that is. If you're somewhere else, you probably won't. And I've written some stuff for TV and had movie scripts optioned, and basically I've done most types of writing in my life. And as a result of that, I get 10 to 15 emails every week from people who are keen to be writers themselves, who maybe don't know how to get started, or maybe have already got started and aren't seeing the success that they would like to see. And I basically get lots of questions fired at me. And unfortunately, I don't really have time to answer all those questions because I have books to write. But what I thought I would do was I would start this new sort of weekly video series where I answer a couple of those questions, ones that I hope will be helpful for other people who might find themselves in the same sort of situation. And so we're going to start today. This is episode 1 of Page to Published, the new learning resource from me, Barry Hutchison, aka JD Kirk. Roll the little thing. And we're back. So today we're going to look at a couple of questions that have been sent in. One by Suzanne, S-U-Z-A-N. Don't know if that's Susan or Suzanne. And one by Katie. They both ask questions. I'm going to respond to them one at a time, starting now. So strap yourself in. So Suzanne/Susan, I'd sent an email out to my mailing list, said, what are the problems you face with writing? Because I was trying to get sort of more universal problems sent in rather than specific stuff. So Susan/Suzanne says her issues are fear, cluelessness, and lack of direction. And to that, Suzanne, I would say welcome to the club. I think those are all very healthy things for a writer to be experiencing. Every time I sit down at a blank page, I go, how the hell am I supposed to write a book? I don't believe that I can do it. I don't believe I understand how to do it, and I'm surprised that I've been able to do it so many times before. What helps with that is having a plan of what I'm going to write, not just the plan of the story, but having a plan of what I'm going to write that particular day. So for example, tomorrow, which is Monday, I'm scheduling this on the Sunday, this will appear on the Monday, so today, if you're watching this, I start writing the latest DCI Heather Filson book, DI Heather Filson book. Should probably get that right. And I have a plan of exactly what I'm writing today. Not what the story is, I have that figured out, but I have a plan of what I'm writing today. So the chapter that I'm doing, what happens in that chapter, I have it all broken down and I know where I'm going to start and where I'm going to finish. I have that plan of action, and that helps me get over that initial terror of having a blank page in front of me. So that's how I get past that. I go, right, what am I doing today? Not bigger scheme, because writing a book is a long process and the ending is quite far away. What I'm doing today is an achievable chunk. It's taking one step at a time on the journey. So I make that achievable chunk. What am I writing today? And I write that. Sometimes it changes. That doesn't matter. I get started and I follow that plan as far as I can. So that hopefully helps with the lack of direction in terms of the individual getting started bit. But I think it's also important to think, what is your overall direction you're aiming for? Not even in that book, but long term. Why are you writing to begin with? There are lots of reasons to write. Maybe you want to leave a legacy, write a book about, inspired by your life that your kids can read, or make a picture book that your kids or nephews or whoever can read. Maybe you want to have a few books published and semi-retire or whatever and write books for pleasure. Maybe you want to build a publishing company like I did and produce lots of books and make money from that. So having an idea of what your end goal is as a writer, I think, is really important and is a really useful way of getting started. Because if you're writing solely for your own enjoyment, then just write whatever you want and it doesn't matter if it's bloody awful. You're taking pleasure from doing it. If you're creating a product that you hope to sell to millions of people, then it's more important to have a sort of structured plan in place and know what you're writing and what people are likely to read and all that stuff. So choose your or decide your end game now, and then everything else falls in from that. In terms of the fear and cluelessness, I get that every time. I don't know an author who doesn't. I think imposter syndrome is really healthy for an author. I think the people that don't suffer from imposter syndrome are psychopaths and imposters, people that know they're faking it. If you sit down to write the best book you can and you're filled with doubts as to whether that book is any good, I would say you're on the right track. I've done sort of writing workshops before where people have come with their books or their story outlines or their sample chapters or short stories or whatever it may be, and have been rock solid confident that this is the greatest piece of writing that has ever been done, and it is invariably bloody awful. And then people have come to me and they're really worried about showing me something, and they're shy about it, and they're self-deprecating, and they think it's a load of old shite. And generally it's at least got more merit than that other stuff had. So self-doubt, fear, cluelessness, can't help you with that. You're going to be plagued with that forever. The lack of direction, hopefully that stuff I said earlier on helps with that. Make a plan for your book, make a plan for what you're writing that day, but more importantly, figure out why you're doing this in the first place. Hope that helps, Suzanne/Susan, whatever that may be. Okay, question 2, Katie. Getting a literary agent, this is Katie's problem, getting a literary agent or publisher to even request a full manuscript. They keep telling me I'm good, but then turning down my work. 2 things I would say to this, Katie. 1, don't take it personally. Every author I know has been rejected multiple times over, including myself. J.K. Rowling was rejected multiple times. George Lucas's Star Wars was rejected multiple times. The Beatles were turned down lots of times. They've all done all right. So I would say don't worry about that. It is all about, if that's your plan, is to go agent publisher route, then it's just about persistence. And in terms of getting an agent will not represent a book. An agent represents an author. So an agent wants to know that you can produce a body of work that they can keep selling for 10, 20 years. So if an agent has shown any interest in your book, then write another one that is as good or better and send that to them, and then repeat. And eventually they're going to say, okay, this author is producing good, consistently good work. I can sell this. The other thing I would say, though, is that I wrote for traditional publishers for 10 years. HarperCollins, Penguin, Random House when they merged, Bloomsbury, Oxford University Press, some of the biggest publishers in the world. And I was always working and I was always broke. So I wrote 150 books for those publishers and never knew that I could pay my bills 2 months down the line. Somebody was making money because they kept releasing them, but it wasn't me. So my life changed when I decided to take things into my own hands and publish my own work. I published the Space Team book, the first comedy sci-fi novel that I wrote, self-published that on Kindle, and that was a life-changing realisation for me that I could not only write my own books, write the books that I wanted to write, but then I could take ownership of them and be responsible for getting those books into the world. Because people assume that a publisher will handle everything else for you, and that is not the case. In my experience, working with many, many publishers, I would have editors who would give me advice, often not advice I agreed with, and I would have cover designers design covers, often not covers that I liked or didn't think necessarily reflected on the book in a way that would help it sell. And that was really it. Publishers don't generally market books. Publishers generally publish 20 books and then watch them closely. And if one of those books starts to sell by itself, then they will chuck money at it and try and help it become a bestseller. But they don't invest money in new authors, generally speaking. So you'll be left to do your own marketing. They may make decisions that you don't agree with, and you're kind of powerless to affect that, and you will be paid 7% of generally what the publisher earns. When I started publishing myself, I had full control over everything, which is scary, but is also quite empowering. And I was able to write the types of books that I wanted. And by publishing on Kindle, I got 70% of the cover price of that book. And you can figure out the numbers based on that. So yeah, I would say if you want to get a literary agent or publisher, just keep trying. It is frustrating, and it's just about writing the next book and showing that you can continue to put out good work. But why do you want to do that would be my question. More and more traditionally published authors are moving over to publishing their own stuff. They're seeing the benefits of it, and I would not really go back to traditional publishing. There are some publishers that are coming up, Bookouture for example, and a few other ones who have the same sort of indie author mindset and are doing amazing work, and they're selling in amazing numbers, and so those guys are interesting. But if HarperCollins came to me tomorrow and said, here's £1 million, will you write as a book? I would say no, because the experience was so frustrating, and the experience of doing it myself has been so rewarding, both creatively and financially, that I couldn't possibly justify writing for an old school traditional publisher again. Hope that helps you make your mind up, Katie. So that's it. First couple of questions done. I don't want this to drag on, so we'll do more later. My screen has just shut itself down. I hope it's still recording. But yeah, we'll do more next week. So tune in then. My son has teamed up with me, and we're doing a short email and video course on how to get started in self-publishing, which is going to be called Bookstrapping. It's based on a talk I delivered a few years ago at a publishing conference, which is about bootstrapping, the idea of starting a business with no money, but it's about books. So bookstrapping. It probably feels more clever in my head than it actually is, but the bootstrapping course will be a 6-week email and video course taking you through how I created my publishing business with no money spent up front and turned it into a 7-figure a year business. So look out for that soon. There'll be a link below on how to join the waiting list for that, and that'll be coming very soon. And in the meantime, I'm going to go and get to work, and I shall talk to you guys again soon. Bye for now.